a walk-in, and a haircut. Today's going to be a wee bit tamed compared to the last two. As a family of 5, I was no stranger to sharing my bedroom. I mean, my brother and I shared our bedroom from all way back from further back than I can remember. Because as far back as I can remember, the first 2 houses that we lived in were 2-bedroom houses. So my sister had one room, my brother and I shared the other, while my parents slept in the living room. Well, we weren't usually the kind of kids that would stay up for like crazy time frames and just doze off at random places. We were usually pretty decent at falling asleep in our own beds at the same time every day. Well, one night I woke up randomly and I noticed I wasn't in my bedroom. I didn't know where I was. At the time I didn't know where I was. I ended up being in my sister's bedroom across the hall. Well, not across the hall, but down the hall. And not knowing where I was confused and disoriented. I couldn't see in the dark very well just yet, because I was still pretty young. So I felt around until I could find my sister's door, made my way through the door, found myself in my hallway. Made sense, wasn't confused anymore. Well, wasn't confused as to where I was confused as to why I was there. So, I went ahead and started making my way back down the hall to my own bedroom. And I was a slow going. I passed the openings of the living room. I passed the bathroom. And it doesn't occur to me at the time, but I'm hearing an odd noise that I had never heard before as I get closer and closer to my bedroom. And I also noticed that my bedroom door is cracked. Once again, wasn't thinking too much of it. My brother and I usually slept with the door cracked as it was. I was the one that wanted the light on. I wasn't afraid of the dark. I just like having some light so I can see. I like having the ability to see. Anyway, not thinking too much about what could possibly be going on or what was going on or anything like that. I just wanted to sleep in my own bed. I went ahead and pushed the door open to see my dad doing what at the time I could have swore were acrobatic push-ups on my mother. Because it was the way my brain registered it then and still does to this day was I open the door and I see my dad doing this and his hands going up and slamming back down on my bed and then continuing to do it in the same fashion over and over. And I was confused. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And since it was my own bed, I wasn't thinking too much about it. I was just like, I don't know what's happening, so I'm just gonna... I put the door back into the position I found it in, and I made my way to the bathroom to do what you normally do in the middle of the night. Anyway, when finished, I make my way out of the bathroom, and I make my way back down the hall towards my sister's bedroom. At which point, my parents are already in the living room now. And my dad notices me walking down the hall, calls to me, and says, "Hey, Bubby, are you wanting to go back to your room?" I wasn't thinking twice. He asked if I wanted to go back to my room, so I went straight back to my own bed, not understanding or realizing what I had just witnessed. until I was in my late teens. And mind you, this is a scene I'm sure a lot of people who've experienced this has randomly popped back into their head because random flashbacks happen all the fucking time. Especially when it comes to traumatic / confusing things that happen in your childhood. And one day, it triggered in my brain. Like, the flashback happened, and it triggered what was actually going on. And I was like... I walked in on my parents, fucking on my own bed. It'd be hilarious if it weren't so awkward. That's still fucking hilarious. Didn't make anything any weirder between my dad and myself. My dad and I were still fucking close still, and I never mentioned it to him, to be honest. So, keep in mind, that's something I took while he never found out that I realized it. I'm sure he probably knew at some point. My dad was a smart man, but it's just, it wasn't a bad memory. It was just a random scene that played in my head rent free every great once in a while. It wasn't a bad memory until I realized what the memory was. Then it became a traumatic memory. I relive this shit for you guys. Sort of. It's not a subject I talk about often, but my mother, after finally having me, wanted a girl. Which you will all find ironic when I make a video telling you a lot of other things that I'm not going to have in this first season of L.O.R.E. That'll be separate. Point is after I managed to make my way through and live, she decided that my hair had to grow out since she didn't get a girl. She ended up with the baby she didn't want, and the baby was the gender she didn't want. So she figured she'd try and take at least one of those into her hands and force me to grow my hair out for the first 6 years of my life. Like, my hair was around my shoulder length, a little bit longer by the time we get to this point in the story. And I fucking hated it. I've always hated having long hair. I hated it back then. I didn't like it being past my ears. I don't like the feeling. I don't like the look. It's to each their own. Just long hair is not for me. I mean, I don't know if I complained about having the long hair that I had from 2024, but that's the longest my hair has been since I was 6 years old. And ask my wife, I bitched about it every fucking day because I hate having long hair. My hair being this long is still technically too long for me, but I can work with this. It's just, well, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Point is when I was 6, and I don't remember where my mother was, I don't remember what my brother and sister were doing, but my dad came to me and asked if I wanted to go get a haircut. And I was like, let's fucking go! Boom! Mind you, this was 1992, 1993. No, this is 92 since I was born in 86. Yeah, it's 1992. And let's fucking go wasn't exactly a catchphrase yet, but you get my point. We get into the car, and my dad takes me to Supercuts. And this being my first time to a barbershop, I had no fucking clue what to do. So my dad took me by the hand and guided me in. We went in, checked in. Barber lady took me by the hand, took me to her chair, and then gave me this little magazine full of different hairstyles to choose from. My mind was racing because I had never seen so many hairstyles. I mean, up until this point, it was the year before my dad introduced me to Power Rangers, so I wasn't the kid that sat down and watched TV a lot. So I was usually out and about either out in the yard playing in the dirt, trying to learn how to ride a bike with my brother, or we were out in the desert-ish area just on the outside of our yard. That was a little bit to an area. If you're from Oklahoma, if you're from Midwest City, Oklahoma, it's the big red dirt area that was right behind Carl Albert Junior High. That area. We lived over there. And my brother and I, my brother, sister, and I, in general, we played out there a lot. We loved to play with the reptiles, and in general, it was just fun. My brother was a bike enthusiast when he was younger for a very long time, so imagine how much fun he was having back. You get the point. And I was just a little kid trying to catch or trying to keep up with my brother and sister because I wanted to be with my brother and sister. Point is, my dad took me to the barbershop. I got to look through this magazine, and I finally settled on what they called a ducktail cut, which is just your basic gentleman's haircut, not too short like this, but not too long. It's just basically your full head of hair tamed and layered to where it's not going over the ears, it's not going down past the earlobes, there's nothing straggling on the neck, things like that. Pretty much what you would see a regular third grade kid hairstyle be in their school photo. Just imagine that. Pre 2015. That way we don't add in all the modern hairstyles that can be confused in the story. Not the point. Point is, I chose it because it got rid of the long hair that I had. It kept the base of my head, but then the back of it would come to a point. Not like an actual tail, like the rat tail style, but the hair literally just comes down and just basically a reverse teardrop. I enjoyed it. It was nice, simple. So that's what I chose. That's how she did it. I was over the moon with it. So much so that was my go-to hairstyle until I was 14 when I started spiking my hair, which to this day is my default hairstyle, even though you guys haven't seen my hair spiked in a year and a half. Not the point. Point is my preferred hairstyle is my hair being about a third to a half an inch shorter than what it currently is, so it faux hawks into the middle going up, and then I can fan out the front into a crown. It's just my favorite hairstyle. What can I say? Or if I don't feel like doing all of that, I can just do a basic mess up, spike it through that. I'm good. Or I can just leave it down like this. Take your pick. But you get my point. It's nice, simple, standard, and I look good in it. Anyone could look in it. But that's just my preference. Always has, was since the first time I did it, and I just haven't gone back since because I don't like any other hairstyle as much as I like having my hair spiked. But give me another 5 to 10 years, that'll probably change since I'm 38 now, so in 5 years I'm going to be 43. I may just grow out of the spiked hairstyle. We'll see. Might be growing out of it when my hair goes fully gray. Neither here nor there. Point is that day, my hair got short for the first time, and it was never that long again. Like I said, the year 2024 was the longest my hair had been since the year 1992, and it will not get any longer than that. Hell, I'm personally surprised I let it get that long in the first place. I was just fucking lazy as hell. Lazy, and I don't always have the strength to get up and do things. Back problems. What are you gonna do? Anyway, so I mean, it wasn't a fantastical memory, but being my first haircut and being my dad that took me, I mean, it's not a secret. Any memory I have with my dad is special, so it's gonna be a good memory. I think my brain is still structuring the walk-in on my parents the way it is, the extreme push-ups scene. I think it's portraying it that way because by then in my life, which I had explained in the last two lore videos, that I was already going through a lot of traumatic things in my life, especially when it came to my mother. All of my trauma was coming from my mother at the time. So I think my brain was just, or has been, likely always will portray it that way just to keep my sanity intact. What little of it I have. But also, if your kids say they want a haircut, hear them out. Don't give them an immediate and staunch no, but don't just give in to any haircut they want. They're just kids, so things like a mohawk, like a fully shaved, side-shaved mohawk or whatever, or if they say they just want to go straight bald because they think they'd like it, and then they turn around and go bald and they don't like it. That kind of situation. Just hear them out and talk it out. Granted, even if they're just little kids, they're human beings. If you present them with enough logic on their level, they will understand. So, work with them. That being said, I am not your child's parent, so you don't have to listen to anything I'm saying parental-wise. I'm just speaking through my own experience and relaying how someone in said situation felt / handled / got out of it. Anyway, that's all I got for today's episode of Lore. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. What do you think? You think I'd look good as a girl? I've always been told I'd make a pretty transvestite. Also, does anybody else miss my spiked hair as much as I do? I should have had my barber cut it shorter.